Welcome to RetroLogic. I'm John Cummins, not Dan Caparello. We're Danless this week, but I do have with me today Sam Wagers.
Hello.
And a special guest from the Nintendo Pals podcast, Micah or Mitch, whichever one you prefer.
Yep.
There it is. Today we're going to be talking about Luigi's Mansion, the Polymega, and more delays across the retro gaming stuff that's supposed to be coming out. RetroLogic isn't just a podcast, it's also a retro game store. Visit retrologic.games to check out our growing inventory of clean, tested, and 100% authentic retro games, and now merch. So with all the intro stuff out of the way, let's talk about what we've been playing. Or I guess, how are you guys doing? I'm like just flying through this thing. How's your day going, Micah?
Going pretty good.
That's what I usually get from whenever I listen to you. How about you, Sam? How's your day going?
I'm doing well. I'm on the road again this week, so I am recording from a hotel room once again. But I'm doing okay. You know, it's kind of nice to get out of the house, you know.
And you sound so crisp. You brought your mic with you, and you're sounding good. So,
yep.
I have basically not done hardly any gaming. It's mostly been family stuff and work for me. So, you guys are going to have to hold up the gaming side of the podcast for what we've been playing. Speaking of what we've been playing, Micah, what have you been playing? As the guest, you get to go first.
Well, I got Spelunky 2 recently, so I've been playing that quite a bit, especially since it's Andros' favorite game, so he's inviting me to play like all the time when he's available.
Do you guys have 100 hours in it?
He might be getting kind of close.
It's kind of scary.
Probably like 25 or maybe 30. Put a lot of time in pretty quick, but I've really been enjoying that. And I guess I also recently just played through Luigi's Mansion in preparation for this episode, since it had been so long.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I should talk too much about it right now.
Yeah, you can save that for a little bit later. I think we're going to go pretty deep into that one.
Excellent. And then before Spelunky 2, the last game I bought was a new Pokemon Snap, so I haven't had too many new games to play, so I've just been sticking with my favorite 3 free-to-play games, Pokemon Unite, Fortnite, and some Rocket League.
Those are all solid. I mean, I haven't played Rocket League in a while, but it's I put quite a few hours into it when it first came out.
Yeah, I played it quite a bit when it first came out, and then kind of dropped off for like a couple years, and got back into it semi-recently. Been enjoying it.
Nice.
I've still kept up with Pokemon Unite. At this point, I just want to make sure I have enough coins for the next character to get added. Because I don't... I've only really gone down in Master Rank since
me too.
getting added, because I honestly think people at Master Rank, play worse because they no longer have anything to prove.
And they can't go down.
Ultra, everybody was trying their best. Now everybody's just whatever. I don't care what the rest of my team's doing.
Because I think you can group up and play with people who are a lower rank than you, and you can kind of help carry them up. And
yeah,
I think that potentially happened with some people.
Yeah, you can play with people up to down to veteran rank at Master.
Well,
some people definitely make some questionable decisions. It seems.
For sure.
Yeah, I am not a Pokemon master at Unite, so one of these days I might try it out. I haven't tried a what are those games called?
MOBA.
Yeah, I haven't tried one out in a long time. I was trying to think of the free one that came out on Switch a while back. Was it Arena of Valor? Is that what the...
Right, Arena of Valor.
Yeah.
That's actually also Tencent.
Yeah.
Same company.
Anyway, I'll give it a shot eventually. And if that's all you've played, Micah, we'll move on to Sam and see what he bought and played this week.
So as far as buying things, I had a game come in I ordered some time ago, which shipped from Japan, which is why it took so long. And that is Zoku, The Legend of Bishin. I think I brought this up on the podcast before. I don't think I actually had ordered it by then, but it was a game I was just really curious about. This is like a hybrid racing beat-em-up. So
yes,
you have a time limit, and you have to get to the end of a stage where you fight a boss, and you're driving a car around. But if your car takes damage by other cars running into it, you'll get flung out of your car, and then you have to fight a bunch of thugs and then get back in your car, and the timer keeps going down the whole time. So it's just really interesting. I will say, like, the beat 'em up style controls are not great. Like, the jump just feels weird. It's like you jump super high and stay in the air so long that it's just
kind of floaty.
It just doesn't feel good. Yeah.
It's not Streets of Rage.
I like the concept, and I said it before, do this when you bring back F-Zero. I want an F-Zero game where I get to race and Falcon Punch people.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Falcon Punch is a necessity.
But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Super Famicom games. I will note that one too didn't come out in the US. The menus are in English anyway. There's not a whole lot of text in the game, but there is no even a fan translation project for this. But that's kind of been my other thing lately, is that I've been getting into some Super Famicom games that have fan translation patches. So I'm actually able to use my Super NT, which with the jailbreak firmware, to copy ROM images from my carts and then apply using a program fan translation patches to them and then play off of an SD card. So I did that this week with Goemon 2, Ganbare Goemon, the sequel to Legend of the Mystical Ninja, which has been a blast. So I streamed the whole thing. I streamed it on Tuesday, and I streamed the other half of it Saturday because I had kind of a lazy Saturday going on. I thought, since I'll be out next week, let's just wrap this up. So that was a ton of fun. Highly recommend if you haven't played Legend of the Mystical Ninja, it's really good. But honestly, I almost think the sequels are better. Like, they really refined this to the point where every level is just throwing something kind of new at you, but it's just like top notch. This is when Konami was at the top of their game, making platformers and things like that. And like, there's levels where you're jumping on fried shrimp that are flopping around. There's levels where you're riding on a dragon. There's all these like different vehicles you can hop in. And this is also the game actually that introduces Goemon Impact. That's Goemon's giant mech version of himself, which you get to fight bosses as, which are kind of frustratingly hard, but also really fun. So yeah, highly recommend that. You can check that out on my Twitch channel. The VOD should be up for a while.
So are all the levels different gameplay?
The core of it is a side-scrolling platformer. So, but if you remember Legend of the Mystical Ninja, that had like top-down sort of segments in it, like in the towns. So those are back as well. Most of the towns in this game are kind of just a break. They're just a town. There's a couple mini games too. I played like a memory mini game. There didn't seem to be as many mini games as the first game, but maybe they're just hidden. Maybe I just skipped them. Because like the first game, there was an area you could go and you could just play Gradius. And like there was like an arcade where you could just play like Konami arcade games.
Nice.
And there's all this other stuff. And usually you can earn money by doing that too. But most of it's platformers. But even then, they bring a lot of twists. Like there's a minecart level. There's a level where there's this dragon jumping up out of the water, and you have to like jump on and off of them at different points. Like I said, there's the Japanese food castle, which was just crazy. And there's quite a few like vehicles you can hop in and ride, like these like toy fish that just kind of flop around, but then when they hit water, they start going super fast. It's just loony, but it's a ton of fun. It's all co-op too, so
Nice.
if we ever find a way to do that co-op, we could do that. But yeah, I've also been playing Warioware Get It Together, and I did finish Samus Returns this week. I had to remember to mention that because I thought I already had, but that was on the Nintendo Pals podcast.
Oh,
So
yes.
I finished Samus Returns in time for Metroid Dread, so that was great.
Like, early. You have enough time to beat another
Play it
game.
again.
Yeah,
I think that I think Marty and Jesse from the Nintendo dads have been like trying to knock out all of the Metroid games before Dread.
so the only core piece of that timeline I have not played is Other M. I think I actually have Other M because I picked it up for dirt cheap, but I've never played it.
You could still pick it up for dirt cheap if you don't have it.
Yeah.
But I played Fusion. I don't have it, but I borrowed it and played it a long time ago. I played Samus Returns. I haven't played the Game Boy original, but I played Samus Returns. I played Super Metroid and the original on NSO. So Zero Mission, of course, is a remake of the first. So I'm
Correct.
kind of covered.
Yeah, I think they were just replaying them all so they'd have it fresh for whenever. Watch like Dread go in a totally different direction that doesn't use like a whole lot of the past story.
The way they're brushing you up on everything, I think it's going to.
It's Nintendo though. It wouldn't surprise me if they just like totally. 'Cause, I mean, I think they're kind of making
And they want it to be a jumping on point for people because
Yeah.
they know Metroid's not
Exactly.
sold
That's what I'm
super
saying.
well
I don't
before,
know.
and they want this one too.
I have a feeling it's going to kind of like take its own direction just and leave some of the past behind just because they want it to be a starting point and for people to hop on and not feel obligated to go back and find all these old games, especially since they don't offer new ways to play them. Well,
Yeah, well, I mean, we got half the 2D series on
Yeah.
NSO just between 1 and Super Metroid. Like, there really aren't that many Metroid games. When you set aside Prime, because that's a separate timeline,
correct.
there
Yeah,
aren't
well,
that many
even
for,
with
for a
Prime,
series that
there's-
old.
even with Prime, there's not a whole lot of Metroid games that. Because
Yeah, and like the spin-offs like Pinball and Federation Force, you don't really need.
yeah, makes sense. But I mean, we're all excited for Metroid regardless. So just need to get here. Come on, October 8th.
But yeah, other than that, I have of course been playing WarioWare Get It Together.
Yes.
I also had a chance to play one of the new games that came to Pie Packer, which I put in our news section. So we'll talk about that later. But I played some Cliffhanger Edward Randy.
Is
It's an
that
arcade
like
game. So I played through all of it and used a lot of credits because you don't actually have to pay 25 cents every time.
it's not a licensed game based off the movie?
I think I wasn't aware there is a movie, but
Yeah,
maybe.
man. It's got Stallone in it.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, Sam, homework for the next show. You must watch Cliffhanger and let us know what you think.
Oh man.
We're gonna be the retro movie podcast before we know it. No, that's cool. I need to check out Pie Packer. I haven't fired it up since they updated, so we definitely be interested to talk about that later and hear what all they've added. Alrighty, is that it for you?
Yep, that's it for me.
All right. So, like I said, I haven't had a whole lot of time to play very many games this past week, but I did pick some up. I grabbed TurokEvolution for the Game Boy Advance, which is like a side-scrolling shooting platformer. It's not like a traditional Turok because it's on the Game Boy Advance, but it's pretty neat. It kind of plays. I want to say it's like a Game Boy Ninja Turtles game, but with guns and things, and the graphics are a little bit better. It's not quite Contra, you know.
Well, there was a Game Boy Color Turok too.
Yes, and this game is a lot more like graphically, it's a lot better, but it's very similar gameplay wise. Like it's a 2D platformer that has. In fact, I don't think Evolution even has Turok in it. It's 2 different characters you can play as. They just slapped the name on there to get some sales. I also picked up Advanced Wars for the Game Boy Advance.
Nice.
Dan would be proud. I used to have this game, and I don't know where it went. I still have the second game for the Game Boy Advance, but I don't know where my copy of the first game went. So I got on Mercari and found a cheap one. I think I paid $27 for it, which is very undervalued. That game's kind of shot up in the last few years. And I haven't got to... I've already played this game on the Wii U somewhat recently, within the last probably 5 years. So I just fired it up, tested it, make sure it works, it's authentic. Which is kind of nice, like popping it in the Game Boy operator, and it's like, this is a real cartridge. You don't have to like worry about anything. I don't even have to.
If you had any doubts.
Yes, if I had any doubts. It's just a nice little assurance when you fire it up. I also got a really crazy deal on Castlevania Aria of Sorrows for the Game Boy Advance. We went to a orchard over the weekend with the kids. We were going to pick apples and things, and on the way back on the north side of our town, there is a local game store that's part of the same franchise as the one on the south side.
I was really hoping that story was just going to be, I was picking apples and I just found it.
Yes, I found it on the ground. Yeah. No, it's basically just
an apple in there.
I have to throw that in there because I never go to this game store. It's on the north side of town, which is like a 30-minute drive for me. Since we were already over there and I was on the way back, I was like, hey, I'm going to stop in and just glance around. I walk in, I go straight to the handheld case where they have all the handheld games, and I find this Castlevania game in there, and they have $35 on it. And for those who are not versed in Castlevania Game Boy Advance games, this is a $105 game. Yeah.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, so this is a very expensive Game Boy Advance game, and when I saw $35, I immediately was like, yeah, I'll take that one right there. Go ahead and pull that out and hold it off to the side for me. But yeah, so I got that one, and then I got Banjo Kazooie's Grunty's Revenge for the Game Boy Advance at the same place, and I also got Battletech for the Sega Genesis, which is like a Mech Warrior type game for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, it's actually the same game as Mech Warrior 3050.
3050, isn't it? Yeah, did you pick this one up too, Sam? That's what I thought.
Yeah, yeah, I did too.
I couldn't remember. I thought it sounded familiar.
I haven't actually really played it yet, though.
Well, I found this copy for $10, so I figured it was worth the pickup. And it had been there for a little while too. The sticker on it said,
yeah, it's not a pricey game.
Been over there for like a year. It's funny because the same store also had Mech Warrior 3050 for the Super Nintendo in the case right next to it, so I could have but I want to say they had $25 on the Super Nintendo version, so I just grabbed the Genesis one. All right, so those are what I picked up. What I played is I probably played like an hour of TurokEvolution for the Game Boy Advance, and probably put equally the same amount of time into Castlevania. Just made it through the first bit, fought the first boss, and made on to the next part of the castle. This Castlevania, I don't know if I played this one when it came out. I get confused on which ones I played now because it was so long ago.
This is the one that got me into Castlevania, and it's still my favorite to this day.
Nice.
It's the whole, getting powers from enemies.
Yeah.
It's Mega Man stuff.
Yeah, I like how they incorporate it into the story too quite a bit, It's just fun, and I love the sprite work on this game. Like, very first boss creature you fight's like the giant skeleton thing crawling on the ground towards you. And just, yeah, it's like some of my favorite sprite work is Castlevania Game Boy games. And now that I have the Game Boy operator, I can see them, like I could play Circle the Moon and actually like be able to see everything on screen. Not playing it on my Game Boy Advance with no backlit screen. So yeah, I plan on trying to play through this one again, just or play through it for the first time. Like I said, I can't remember which ones I played through, but I'm enjoying it. I like Castlevania, so this one hits home. And that's it for me. Other than, yeah, I didn't even play any of Switch. My golf tournament is over, so we're all done.
Did you get WarioWare?
I have not picked up WarioWare yet. I haven't had a chance. I plan on doing it pretty soon to do the next monthly Mayhem. But I need to get on it or I won't have a chance to get as many or a higher score than what's needed to win. Alrighty. With that, I guess we'll move on to everyone's favorite segment of the show. Price is Retro. Alright, here's how you play. Everyone here is going to list off 4 or 5 games, and everyone else that didn't list off the games are going to take a stab at how much the total cost of these games are. I will tally all of the guesses up, and whoever guesses closest out of all of our lists will be the winner. And that's pretty much it. It's a lot of fun. Micah, you ready for this? You haven't got to play yet.
Oh, yeah. I'm so ready to thoroughly embarrass myself guessing some of these prices.
Yes, we, here in the next couple weeks, Flighty will, completely digest this episode, and all your stats will be live on Discord, so they'll know how bad you did. Or good.
As long as I'm not the last. I'm not the
It's
worst.
okay, because we recently learned that even though we make fun of Nick for having the worst score, Dan actually set a worse score earlier.
Yeah,
We found out.
fairly quickly after Nick did, so it was
As long as I don't set the new worst record,
yeah, I think
I'll feel pretty good about myself.
until he gets fully through all the episodes, I think we'll find out that even Dan's record was beat. We know for sure that Liam probably beat it at one of his times on, but yeah, no, you'll be all right. Who knows? You might win. You might be a solo, so we'll see. And
People do win the lottery, so
this is correct.
there's a chance.
So, Sam, do you want to go first?
Sure, I will go first. So I have a list of 4 games here. I'll just go ahead and give you the theme up front because I'm feeling generous. Not that it will probably mean much to you, but the common thread here is a person who worked on all of them named Yoshiro Kimura. He moved between a couple different companies, one of which was Love Delic, which made a bunch of cult classic PlayStation and PlayStation 2 games. So the first is Moon Remix RPG Adventure for the PlayStation 1, Loose. And this is a Japan-only game. There is a Switch remake.
I was going to say
this
this
doesn't list it because it's digital only.
Yeah, this one just got remade, I remember. Okay.
Romancing Saga for the PlayStation 1, Loose. Then we have Tulip for the PlayStation 2, complete in box. And Rule of Rose for the PlayStation 2, complete in box.
What is that last game?
Rule of Rose, like genre?
Yeah.
Survival horror.
Survival horror. I've never heard of that last one. I'm going to say, let's just do an even 200 for me. We're gonna get
200?
With 225.
225. So the total is $842.93.
Oh, Sam just won this game. Congratulations, Sam.
So Rule of Rose is apparently one of the most expensive PlayStation 2 games in existence at $551.50.
Good gosh.
I'm gonna start changing all mine to like graded condition to really amp things up.
Tulip for the PlayStation 2 is also very expensive at $223.50. My brother has this game.
Nice.
Which he was weirdly obsessed with for a while. It is very weird. That's all I can really say about it. Romancing Saga for the PlayStation 1 is $25.59, and Moon Remix RPG Adventure is $42.24.
All right.
So how far off is the worst score ever? I'm just curious how much further away I am.
We're encroaching on it. Both of us. All right, Mike, I'll let you go next with your list.
Yeah, I decided to keep things kind of simple and just keep all mine loose. But, Metroid Prime, Paper Mario 1000-Year Door, Luigi's Mansion, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons for the Game Boy Color.
Hold on, go through that one more time quickly.
Metroid Prime,
Okay.
Paper Mario 1000-Year Door, Luigi's Mansion, Wind Waker, Oracle of Seasons.
Okay.
I'm going to guess $275. They're all loose. They're also all GameCube games. Well, most of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 160.
Okay.
What was your guess, Sam?
275.
275. Okay.
And the total is $230.58. And the theme is my childhood favorite games that my co-host Andros has not played. So throw him under the bus a little bit, but these are some like the greatest games.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
I guess Metroid Prime was 19, just rounding a little bit. Luigi's Mansion was 40, Oracle of Seasons 45, Wind Waker 50, and 1000-Year Door 76.
Man, all those games have gone up just recently.
A lot of GameCube stuff has actually dipped recently. It's gone down and then a little bit back up, which is interesting.
Or maybe the loose cost has gone down a little bit, or gone up a little bit. Either way, that's a lot of money.
I know
for some of those
1000-Year
games.
Door used to be like over 100 a couple months ago.
Well, I know.
I think it hit a high right before Origami King came out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
Awesome. Well, let's see here. I don't think that we're going to dethrone Sam, but we can try. I have our last list. We don't have any guest lists this week. So, first game on my list is Utopia for the Intellivision, complete. The second game is Populous, The Beginning for the PS1, complete. The third game is Alien vs. Predator Extinction for the PS2, complete. And the fourth game is Battalion Wars for the GameCube, complete.
I guess
Do you
I
want
should
me to go
probably
first?
If
Either
you
way.
really wanted to go first, I'd probably let you.
All right, I'll go first. I'm just gonna keep it simple at 200.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll I'll just go with what I was originally going to say, $2.98. I crept up a little bit since the last time I was burned so bad.
I'm curious, which one of these do you think is really valuable?
Good question. All of them. I think they are all valuable to play them and enjoyed them.
The total of my lot is $90.
Oh wow! I thought Battalion Wars was at least like
No,
50 or so.
No, it's not.
Just because it's a GameCube game.
I know.
Yeah, I thought that one would be more.
So, Utopia for the Intellivision Complete is $9. Populous, the beginning for the PS1 is $15. Alien vs. Predator Extinction for the PS2 takes the cake as the highest dollar game, and it was $40. And Battalion Wars for the GameCube Complete is only $26. And it's a great game, so you guys, if you don't have it, should go get it.
Yeah, I figure there aren't a whole lot of complete Intellivision games around, but I guess nobody's buying them.
I guess even if they are, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the theme of these are all console-based RTS games, which I think I've done a similar list of RTS games, but these are all different games. All right, so with all that being done, I had a total difference of $712, which might be my worst one ever, minus like the one where we all got tripped up by the graded game. And Sam was $155 difference, and our guest Micah was at $825. So Sam is the winner this week. And Sam's notching
2 weeks
him on.
in a row.
You guys got me with that.
There's my championship belt.
That 1-2 combo. Really high the first one, and the next one was real low.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh man, I'm not getting fooled twice.
Yeah.
One of these
man, I
is
should have thrown in
$500
Luigi's
PS2 game.
Yeah.
I should Luigi's Mansion graded. I was checking, that one's like $2,100. For some reason, that was more expensive than all the rest of them.
So Sam's starting to pick up some wins at the end of the season here. There's, I think, 3 more games. Yeah, 3 more games left till the season is over. And Sam's got 4 already.
Do we have a playoff?
That's up to Dan. We could always do an episode that is only prices.
True. When you guys were tied, you did a big.
We did a big episode where it was just
retro showdown.
It's like 25. It was only like 8, I think. But
like every listener sent a review list in.
Yes,
I think.
But yeah, no, that's Price is Retro. Time to move on. So let's see. So now we're going to move on to some weekly topics. First one here is This Day in Gaming History. And it looks like Sam has thrown on here Super Mario Brothers for the NES. This is a Japan release date, but September 13th, 1985. I believe the US was not too far after that, right? Like, I want to say like November,
so.
December.
Don't have that in front of me.
So what all do you want to say about Super Mario Bros? I know we were talking earlier.
I don't know if there's a whole lot that we can say, but I don't know that if we're gonna do, This Day in Gaming History, we can't ignore Super Mario Bros. But there's also not a lot to say about it that hasn't already been said. This kind of defined home console video games for everyone, everywhere, in a lot of ways.
It did, and it's what drove. I mean, it's the reason why everyone's first instinct when they play a game is to go to the right and to jump on and jump into things.
The design of 1-1. By now, everybody kind of knows that is just like ingenious in teaching you how to play the game without having to spell it out for you. North America came, well, I guess, it is disputed when it came out.
Yeah,
I guess it didn't roll out nationwide.
We've talked about it.
That's right.
I think it had a debut in New York, and like that was the first place to get it right off the bat, and then it like kind of slowly trickled out into the other parts of the U.S. But I think that was in like November or December, wasn't it?
You just think about like the other games of the time and how much this stands out next to like your black box arcade port type stuff.
Yeah.
It's
the other black boxes that are out there.
It's miles ahead of it, really. Not that those other games are bad. It's just it represents kind of a very big shift in the paradigm of what a video game for your NES is.
Well, it sets the trend for Nintendo that, hey, we're going to develop another Mario game for the next console, and that's going to define how this console is going to be used for the most part.
Well, and you just look, the rest of the generation and the generation after, everybody was trying to make 2D platformers.
Yep.
This is the genre that Mario basically invented.
People are still making 2D platformers.
You had arcade games that had similar concepts, but usually they were single screen.
Yes. And I mean, like I said, it's to the point where it's taught you all these things, and then, you know, later on the road when they bring the sequel to Japan, like the very first thing they do is turn you upside down with those things. You know, you hit the block and the poison mushroom comes out and it kills you. It's to the point where like they taught everybody, they ingrained it so much in
they had a huge hit on their hands, and they took advantage of that opportunity to troll people.
They did, and you know, I kind of miss that part of Nintendo. There's not a whole lot of trolliness anymore, but yeah, that was definitely.
They leave it to Wario now.
Yep, that's what they do. All right, I think, like I said, we've already talked Super Mario Brothers. Like I said, I think it was later last year whenever the US release popped up. I think we already talked about it then, but I mean, it's Super Mario Brothers. You can always talk about it. The other game you have on here is Mortal Kombat for the Sega Genesis, also released on September 13th, but in 1993. This is another game that kind of defined a generation of games, but in a different genre.
Yeah, well, I mean, Street Fighter defined the fighting game genre. Street Fighter 2 defined the fighting game genre. Mortal Kombat, I think its legacy will always be wrapped up in the reactions to it in terms of game ratings.
It took a different approach, and I think it also like kind of, it was a major competitor to Street Fighter, but it was so
well, and specifically on the Genesis, because Street Fighter came late to the Genesis.
Correct.
And, you know, as big as Street Fighter was on the Super Nintendo, I think it was kind of old news by the time it hit Genesis. But with Mortal Kombat, you wanted the Genesis version because the blood. Super Nintendo version had the sweat.
Yes,
instead of the blood.
Sweat. Yeah, I was trying to.
Now, this is not a game I really played. I'm still not really into Mortal Kombat. The intentional boundary pushing of it does not appeal to me. I was sheltered as a kid. I wouldn't have been allowed to play it anyway.
I was not allowed to play Mortal Kombat.
Well,
I think I did play it a couple times, so.
I don't know, Micah. They were already on like Mortal Kombat 4 when you came around, weren't they?
Probably.
I was trying to find out when the let's see. So 92 was Mortal Kombat originally. I think that was arcade though.
Yeah, it would have been arcade first.
Yep. That makes sense. And then
in the Mortal Kombat game I played, I seem to remember some guy being able to like essentially eat people. He's like a blob almost. I don't know if I'm just making this up.
I think that's quite possible that you're making that up. I don't think that's Mortal Kombat. I don't know any blob people.
Clay Fighter, maybe.
Yeah, Clay Fighter has a blob.
Clay Fighter 63 1/3 did have claytalities.
Yes, it did.
And those maybe I'm thinking of some other fighting game.
But yeah, I think especially, with that, the Genesis release in particular, that difference I think was huge for Sega, because Super Nintendo had Street Fighter first, and that was a huge game for them. Sega tried their own fighting game with Eternal Champions, but it didn't really land.
Yes, that was a big flop.
To get what was the preferred version of Mortal Kombat was huge.
The problem was with Mortal Kombat in the two consoles is it was a trade-off, because most people that had a Genesis still had the older 3-button controllers, which are not great for fighting games. So yeah, you might have got you might got blood. I wouldn't even say superior graphics, but you might have got the blood, but you didn't get the extra button that was required to play the game properly.
Yep.
So, I mean, I played it on Super Nintendo.
Some people thought it was worth it.
Yeah, some people are like, oh yeah, look at that blood. I can't lower punch, but yeah, this is awesome. But no, I like Street Fighter, but I didn't get into Street Fighter until later. And
Same here, actually.
Mortal Kombat was my jam.
I got into Street Fighter with Alpha.
Okay, yeah.
I just always pick the weirdest time to jump into series.
I played Street Fighter 2, not near as much as I did Mortal Kombat. The whole trilogy, the original trilogy, I played quite a bit of each of the games. And I didn't really get huge into Street Fighter until 4, even. Like, whenever that released. Is whenever I kind of... I hadn't really even played fighting games in a long time. And that was the first one I picked up on Xbox 360 whenever I got back into fighting games a little bit for a short stint. And, but yeah, no, I spent almost all my childhood, the only fighting games I played for the most part were Mortal Kombat games. They just, I say that. I also played a lot of Killer Instinct, which is even more different than the other two. Everyone was kind of grabbing their piece of the pie when it came to fighting games in those days. You had some really bad ones, and then you I remember
Tough Enough.
Tough Enough, not Tough Enough. What's the other one that came out on Switch Online here recently? Drawing a blank.
Shoot,
it's really bad. I got forced to play it in one of the monthly mayhems, and the character that I selected only had 2 moves. It had a leg sweep and a punch, and basically it was
I really needed to sweep the legs.
Yeah, that gets old after a little while though, especially if you're the other player on the receiving end of a leg sweep 45 times. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I specifically remember a fighting game called Rise of the Robots for the Super Nintendo that was really bad.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, there was a ton of them. I think that's our this day in gaming history. I didn't see anything else on there that really jumped out, so we'll talk a little bit about old news. Sam, looks like you threw the Knights of the Old Republic remake on here.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this, and I think it's really weird that this is a PlayStation 5 timed exclusive, because the original game was such a big deal as an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
Xbox and PC. But, because it came at a time when people were like, you don't play RPGs on Xbox. And then, in comes BioWare and LucasArts, now you do.
Yeah, I mean, really the only... Was that before Fable or after Fable?
I believe it was before Fable.
Because Fable kind of exploded on Xbox, and it was the must-play RPG when it came around. I mean, a lot of people did play Knights of the Old Republic. That was what you played on Xbox at the time if you're an RPG person. It is strange that it's PS5 exclusive. Is this still a... who has
They said timed, so I don't think they've confirmed dates or even where else it's coming. Because this was from Sony's PlayStation conference, so they're just saying, hey, buy it here. They're not going to let you know how long they've got it locked down.
Yeah.
Usually these things, it's about a year. I would be surprised if it doesn't come to Xbox and PC. I would be surprised if it comes to Switch.
I didn't even see the trailers. It looked pretty good.
It didn't show a whole lot. It was pretty much just a tease.
But it's a remake. It's not a remaster, so it's going to be fully ground up. Yeah, it's probably not coming to Switch.
And this is a game that, that probably... A remake is probably good, because most of what people remember is the story beats.
The rest of the stuff is probably not as good as it.
At the same time, that I replayed it recently, and I feel like it shouldn't hold up, but at the same time, I was having fun.
And who's developing this remake? That's what I was wondering, if that was the purpose for leaning towards the PS5.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because it's not specifically EA anymore, right? There's other companies making Star Wars licensed games, so I wonder if that was part of the decision to go to PS5 first, was who developed it.
The press release does not mention BioWare or EA.
Okay. Well, it's a mystery. We'll have to do some more digging on that. But definitely, if I get a PS5 by the time this releases, I might be interested in playing it. If not, I'll wait for it to go elsewhere. So, while you're looking at that a little bit, I'll move on to the next thing that I threw on here. Nintendo Life reported that there are now Polymega units arriving in the wild, like they're in the hands of customers that have pre-purchased these things over the last, I don't even know how long it's been now, 3-4 years that the Polymega came about. And I kind of threw this on here because I don't think we've really discussed the Polymega at length on RetroLogic. It's a console that I didn't really have a whole lot of interest in, just due to the massive cost that's associated with it. It's not like a Retron where you basically get all of the gaming slots in one console, and it's all included on a single purchase. But I'm not trying to compare it to a Retron and what it does, because it's definitely far more advanced than what the Retron does. But you basically buy modules for the base console unit. Each module allows you to play a different set of games. So there's a separate module for PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, I think, are together. There's a separate module for NES. There's a separate one for Super Nintendo, Genesis, Sega disc games.
So you've got kind of like a core computational unit.
Yep, you got a core processing emulators. Yep, they can run.
And then you've basically got add-ons that are more than just like a disk drive or a cartridge slot, but
and it has like controller ports for OEM controllers. And I think the reason for the cost up at the beginning was that this was not going to be emulation, and that's where they kind of rolled out. Originally, they were going to do something similar to what Analog does, where it's not.
Yeah, that's where I've heard they've come under a lot of criticism for,
because they pulled it.
Number one, pivoting from their original selling point where they'd had pre-orders already, and number two, trying to say this is not something that it is, or is something that it isn't, because they're kind of, they call it like a hybrid approach.
Yeah, as I say, they're kind of hanging in the middle ground and saying that some things are emulation and some aren't. But again, like I said, I'm not trying to directly compare this to a Retron, because this is going to be a lot higher quality equipment, or supposedly it is. I haven't actually tested it myself to give a response, but like I said, just the cost alone to buy each individual pod or whatever they're called, to play each set of games, you could buy, you know, I can't even remember what the full price was, but by the time it was said and done, I think you were going to spend like the price of a newer gaming console. It was like $500 or $600 to get the core and all of the units that you wanted to play, or even the ones that I had that I was interested in playing. I don't even think they get you all of them.
It looks like the base one's $400 by itself. With like,
it is interesting to have something for the disc systems, the PlayStation 2, because there's not as much in the market for stuff like that.
Yes.
I mean, at the same time, since they are CD-ROMs, like, if you just install an emulator, you can buy discs and create ISOs if you just have a disk drive. But
that is something that's kind of missing from the market. Like, I wish we would get a high quality, like something like that's from Analog or something that plays PlayStation 1 and 2, because it's really hard to find a good PlayStation 2 unit that works and, you know, doesn't sound like it's trying to take off from a different planet, or finding a PlayStation 1 unit that the door still works.
I don't know. I found a PlayStation 2 no problem that seems to work just fine for me. And, you know, a PlayStation 2 is fully backwards compatible with PlayStation 1, so...
Correct.
Now, if you try to find a PlayStation 3 that can do full backwards compatibility, I don't think there's any of those in working condition left.
Finding backwards compatibility PlayStation 3 is probably tougher, but these PS2s were workhorses, man, and it wasn't playing games. A lot of them were destroyed by people using them as a DVD player. So, like, most of them either disk drives don't work, your laser doesn't work.
Anybody in the market for PlayStation 2, I would recommend them. It usually doesn't run much more expensive, and you're much more likely to have one that's still in good condition.
Correct. Yeah, I've got 3 of the original PS2s, and only one of them works. So I'm 1 out of 3. It's not good odds. It's almost. I got criticized by Dan the other day for buying a original Xbox 360 and not the newer model, because they're even worse for having, you know, either disk drive problems or, you know, red ring of death overheating issues. And I should have bought a lottery ticket, because I bought one for $18 and it works just fine and everything. It's like one of the cleanest Xbox 360 units I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think I read like a while ago that like 43% or something like that of 360s had failed.
Yeah, they've died by now.
And I mean, that was like probably like 8 years ago or something. So like 2% are still working.
They've been declared an endangered species.
They have. I mean, I've owned, counting this new one that I've just recently bought, I think I've owned 5 in the time since they've came out, and 3 of them were red ringed at some point, and I just kept shipping them off to Microsoft, because, you know, after a while they didn't even care if they were void of warranty. You know, they would still replace them. But yeah, it's just not a great console design. So I don't. You know, it's funny that Dan said that, and I did take a big gamble, but like I said, it was $18 and I was willing to do it, so. But anyway, Polymega finally hitting shelves, getting order fulfillments. Customers are finally getting their hands on them, and hopefully we'll get to see the reviews and things start coming out, like personal reviews that aren't a game site. Because a lot of times those are more interesting to me than somebody from IGN or something, just hearing actual people getting their hands on them and talking about it.
Yep.
So another one that I grabbed from Nintendo Life is something that sucks, because now that it's getting pushed back even more, but that is the Analog Pocket has now been delayed until December. They just keep pushing this back.
I really think Analog has reached in there. I mean, it's hard to blame them when they have products everybody wants to the point they're selling out, but yeah, you know, it's just the fact that you couldn't get a Super NT or Mega SG for the longest time because they were out of stock.
Yeah.
I did check just before we started recording. Like, they're actually still in stock now, so it seems like they finally got enough of those for the people who want them.
Is it just the SG or is the NT Super NT?
SG and NT are both in stock.
Nice.
Right now, as of recording this, at least, and they have been since their second.
Yeah,
the first restock sold out in like 10 minutes, but the second one, which is when I got the SG, it seems like they have enough now.
Nice.
At least for the number of people that want it.
I really hope the analog pocket is the same way, and maybe that's the cause for delay, is just trying to procure units.
Yeah, and obviously we've got, chip shortages and things like that going on. That's beyond their control. But I do question the decision to announce the Duo before the Pocket had even shipped.
Yeah.
It's just because how long is it? And the Pocket was the one that sold out the fastest, so I think that's going to be out of stock for a long time.
Well, and I think that the Duo is targeting a way more niche market. There's not near as many people with TurboGrafx games that they're looking to play with hardware versus almost every collector out there. If you're a Nintendo fan, probably has Game Boy games of some sort. Or even Sega people that have their old Game Gear games. There's adapters for Game Gear and Lynx, and I believe Neo Geo Pocket has an adapter as well, if I remember right. But no, hopefully these last a little bit longer the next time they set up pre-orders, because they haven't brought pre-orders back out for the Pocket since the initial batch came and sold out in like 35 seconds. So everyone's been waiting. I mean, that was in July of 20, so it's been over a year, and I have a dock and a Game Gear adapter pre-ordered for the Pocket. I just could not get the Pocket. So that's kind of going to be bad for me if I cannot get the Pocket at all. So hopefully they get enough units, because that would be the best for anyone that's looking to get a hold of these things.
And that would definitely be ideal.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm starting to get tempted to pick one of these up.
Yeah, they're
actually come out.
Pretty nice little machine for all the things they can do. I'm not that interested in the music making capabilities of it, but there's definitely going to be some cool stuff made whenever that comes out.
It also helps that in one of their images they show someone playing a Golden Sun, so...
Oh, yes. Yep. All right, so let's move on to one last piece of game news, and that is that the PiePacker update has come out and some new games have been added. And I'll let Sam talk a little bit about these, because I think he's dug around in there a little bit.
Yeah, just wanted to keep people up to date that, they are adding games to the service like all the time. It's still in beta, so this isn't like a huge overhaul. They haven't launched the paid subscription yet or anything, but they are adding games. This time, Data East games. Are all arcade games, I believe. So Heavy Smash, Magical Drop 2, the Cliffhanger, Edward Randy, Night Slasher, and Street Hoop were added in this last update. We missed the last one, which I think was all Interplay. They do have Clay Fighter now, since the last time we talked about it. So if you want to play some online Clay Fighter with people, you can do that for free.
We might have to do that at some point. Isn't Magical Drop 2 on the Switch?
I believe so.
Online? That's what I was.
Yeah,
it's either that one or the first one.
That is something I've noticed between like NSO, besides the Nintendo stuff, Evercade, PiePacker, all these sort of like retro game services tend to get a lot of the same games or games from the same companies. You see a lot of Interplay, you see a lot of Data East, you see a lot of Pico Interactive.
Yeah.
It's odd though, because there's always overlap, but nobody has the exact same set.
Yeah.
So I don't know how all those deals are negotiated. Like, can we be the only one that gets Street Hoop? Or like,
I want Night Slasher.
Okay, we can give you Clay Fighter, but Claymates is Nintendo's got that on a lock for this long, or I don't know how that works.
Well, yeah, I was kind of disappointed to see it on this Clay Fighter, coming to Pie Packer, because I would have rather had it on the Switch Online. Not that there's anything wrong with Pie Packer, but I just know a lot of more people that play using the Switch than I do Pie Packer.
Do you think the online connectivity would be better or worse on NSO?
I don't know, because I haven't tested out the Pie Packer.
I haven't extensively, and I will say the issue when it comes to very strict timing games is because of the way they have everything set up. It is a host-client relationship. It's not peer-to-peer.
Yes.
And it's not server. So Nintendo's is peer-to-peer, meaning that in some cases it might actually be more ideal. The issue with a host-client is that the host is favored by the connection. So they're not going to have latency, and the other person is.
Correct.
And
whereas
how much latency depends on your connection strength.
Peer-to-peer is going to use whoever has the best connection.
Yeah.
All right, so with that update, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back shortly. And welcome back. We're back from our break, and we're here to bring you some more stuff. We have up next is our game highlight, which is the sole reason why we have Micah on the show tonight, is to get somebody that actually can talk about Luigi's Mansion on here, since this is a franchise that Dan has kind of seemed to disowned as a Nintendo child. And it doesn't seem that Sam has a whole lot of experience with it as well.
Not with the first game. Played the other two. I 100%ed Luigi's Mansion 3.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
It was monthly mayhem. I won.
You know,
you might have had some competition.
I was gonna say
participating in that as well.
We would have probably all three tied, because I also 100%ed that game, but did not participate in monthly mayhem that month. I think it took me a lot longer than the month to do it, so you might have still won. But anyway,
we're talking about the first game.
Yes, this is all about Luigi's Mansion. I mean, we could talk a little bit about the other games, just depending on how much time we want to put into it. But yes, the first game is the main highlight here. And I just put a few notes in for this. Released on November 18th, 2001. This was a GameCube launch title, one of the few. From what I could tell, just kind of doing a little bit of digging, it looks like it sold 2.5 million copies. And I'm not sure if that is a combined sales between it and the remaster that was on the 3DS. So I can't say one or the other there. It is also the 5th best-selling GameCube game of all time, which is kind of surprising if 2.5 million is the number, because kind of with the GameCube there was it sold worse than the N64, but it looks, when you look at the software, it sold quite a bit of software in its time out. And also,
it was definitely a system that was loved by the people who had it.
Yes, and a lot of people bought those games. The last thing I have on here before we just kind of dig in, as far as just general stuff, the 3DS version released on October 12th of 2018, so it's been we're going on almost 3 years. I couldn't believe it's been that long. It doesn't seem that long. Did either of you get the 3DS version when it came out?
I did not. I never actually owned a 3DS.
Oh, I remember that now. I assume you didn't get to see their Sam when it came out on 3DS, because
no,
Switch was
I remember
strong.
a reaction to the 3DS remake being very negative overall, because the Switch was out.
Yes.
When this and people are like, why is this not on Switch? We didn't have Luigi's Mansion 3 yet. I think that was before Luigi's Mansion 3 was even announced, but not too much before.
I can't say. They might have both been announced at the same time.
Maybe that was the case.
I don't remember.
People were just asking, why is it? I mean, people were saying that about every 3DS game that came out after the Switch.
At that time,
release,
for sure.
It's like, why are we still supporting the 3DS?
Well, yeah, you have to remember this was year 2 of the Switch already, even, and this wasn't the last 3DS game. There were still quite a few 3DS games that came afterwards. But I played. The reason I ask is because I did buy it on the 3DS and I played through it. That's the most recent playthrough I have is on the 3DS. And for as much hate as this game received for being on that platform, it actually played really well on that platform, and I had zero problems with it. I actually liked having it on the 3DS because I was still toting my 3DS around with me a little bit, and I played a lot of this at work. Gave me some more time.
Is it working or during breaks?
During breaks.
It just makes you more productive, right? It gives you something to look forward to.
Exactly. I played a lot of Breath of the Wild on my breaks too at work when the Switch first came out. But anyway, those are just the facts. We're just getting some things out. I'm interested in Micah's either first impression or, when you first played this game, what you thought of it.
To be honest, I was quite young when it came out originally, but I definitely loved this game. I'm pretty sure I played through it like 3 or 4 times within a couple years. This game was one of my jams when it came out.
Let's see. So, how about you, Sam? Did you play it when it originally came out?
No, because I didn't get a GameCube. I have pretty much been a late adopter of most hardware. I usually wait a couple years, let the library build up, and then pick what looks best to me. And Luigi's Mansion kind of fell to the wayside. By the time we had a GameCube, it was Mario Sunshine, Smash Bros. Melee, and Animal Crossing that we were playing. And that was also when, for the first time, we had a different, not Nintendo console in the house, which was the PlayStation 2. So a lot of those early GameCube games I just ignored, for better or for worse. So I got into the series with Dark Moon on the 3DS, and that I enjoyed. It didn't really make me a hardcore Luigi's Mansion fan, but my understanding is that for a lot of people who were fans of the first game, Dark Moon kind of fell flat.
I could see that.
A number of things about the third game won some people back. Some people still don't like it. So I'm curious where Micah stands on that, if he thinks the later Luigi's Mansion games hold up.
Oh yeah, I loved Luigi's Mansion 3. The only complaint I can really think of is practically not really a complaint. There are just so many secrets and things to find that they aren't really as impactful as in the original Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
There's a couple hidden rooms in the first one, and I remember those being kind of a big deal. They weren't quite as big of a deal as I remembered in my recent playthrough, but I didn't quite get that same sense, but that's just because there's so much content like that in the third one.
And then you wouldn't have played the second one because you didn't have a 3DS.
Nope. It didn't really get the best reviews per se, especially by people who had played the first, so I wasn't super tempted.
So after hearing that, I guess I'm the only one here that played all 3 of them. I also skipped out on I was an early adopter of the GameCube, but I skipped out on Luigi's Mansion in favor of just sports titles and other things that were coming out on there. And I think the thing that really killed this game is the fact that Smash Brothers came out pretty shortly afterwards. I think Smash Brothers Melee came out like 1 or 2 months after launch. So
it's crazy how fast Melee came out.
Yeah,
because we're used to having a longer trailer season for Smash Bros. Now than the entire development of Melee.
Yeah, well, and I kind of wonder, like, I have to imagine that they probably started Melee up pretty quick after.
That's probably true.
The first game, because the first game was really kind of a sleeper hit for the 64. It sold a lot more copies than people give it credit for. It just came out on a deaf system that didn't sell units.
Iwata asks, or Ask Iwata, he refers to working on Smash Bros. As the ultimate indie game, which I find hilarious.
Yes. Well, I mean, at the time, it would have been considered an indie game, I assume. Just in its weirdness and the fact that, it's obscure and there's nothing like it. The only thing that keeps it from being what we wouldn't consider an indie game today is the fact that it uses licensed Nintendo characters in it.
Yeah.
If it would have had if this game would have been strictly like HAL characters, like Kirby and things, it would have definitely been more of an indie title, but it also wouldn't have sold as well. It's a trade-off.
Yeah, but Melee probably did gobble up any other sales Luigi's Mansion could have expected.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I think the poor performance of Luigi's Mansion is due to most of those factors. Other than it being, I remember the feeling around the game in gaming community. For what little gaming community we had at that time, because the internet wasn't as strong. But I remember friends, because I was in high school when this game came out, and none of my friends were interested in playing Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube.
Well, I mean, you also had the typical assumptions when a new system comes out is what's the next big Zelda, what's the next big Mario,
where's Mario at?
And instead of Mario, we got his
random
timid younger brother who is in a game where he can't even jump.
Yeah.
The original Luigi's Mansion just like seemed so out of left field. Just like
it is, and it like there's so many things I love about it, like just the feeling of like the vacuum really hits exactly how it's supposed to. Like I don't ever feel like I never get tired of using the vacuum.
The like little pop when you suck things in.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, it's so good. And just I love how it has like almost a Resident Evil type feel to it, just without the horror part of it, because you're doing a lot of the same. You're exploring one area, one mansion that has all these rooms, and you're traversing and backtracking to unlock something, or all these things. And
that is one of the things that I have heard from people who aren't as big a fan of the later two games, is that the first game was just a little bit spookier, and that they've kind of made everything, taken the edge off. Whatever edge it had is gone, and everything's just too silly now. I wonder sometimes if those people just, grew up in the meantime.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know that the first game is really any more spooky, but the people, when you played it might have been younger, and it might have been more spooky to them at the time.
I do kind of see I do see it in the art style a little bit, what they're getting at.
Yeah, it's a little darker.
You look at the design of the ghosts in the first game, they look a little bit more human. They look a little bit more like ghosts. The newer ghosts are just kind of these weird blobs.
Well, they're definitely more... There's more character to the original game's ghosts, and like there's more to the boss. There's more to the bosses in the original game than there is the second game. The third game kind of like goes out of its way to be better with the boss battles, like to put more emphasis on them. But Yeah, there's just something about that first game, being all in one mansion. Like I said, there was something about that when I first played it, and exploring and like unlocking doors and having to go from the first floor to do something.
It's basically a Metroidvania.
It is basically a Metroidvania, and I think that's why I liked it. Yeah. Oh, it's Mansionvania.
The way like Luigi's always like humming along to the theme song.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can like tell when he gets scared. Like
and
touches like that.
It has a dedicated Mario button.
Yeah, he's calling out for Mario.
And really, this game defined Luigi for the future. I mean, we'd seen some shades of playing up Luigi's personality, kind of like the inferiority complex. I think like in Paper Mario on the N64, you can read
Smash
Luigi's
Brothers.
diary. Smash Brothers had its own sort of takes on it, but like, you go back to like Super Mario Bros. 2, and it's just Luigi is the green one, and he jumps higher.
Guy. Yeah, he's the taller
Luigi's
one.
Mansion is why Luigi is one of my
And nowadays,
characters.
Luigi has way more personality than Mario probably ever will.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is. I guess it's just they're afraid to give Mario too much personality because they want him to be simple.
Because Mario has to be the front man.
Yeah. So, where do you think that Luigi's Mansion is going? Like the third one obviously sold really well. Do you think that we'll get another one at some point?
Really hope so.
Because the third one kind of came out of nowhere. After 2, I didn't know if we were going to get another one. I thought it was going to be one of those franchises that goes another 17 years before we get another one.
Well, yeah, and really, before 2, I would have said, is this even a franchise? Or is this just a Mario spinoff,
Yeah. Yeah, no, 2's what made it a franchise, and, 3 cemented that. And really, like, with how they did 3, there's so much you could do afterwards. Like, sky's the limit after seeing what they did with that game. And just how good it looked. Like, it really, felt like it was pushing the Switch to the potential. It was one of the best looking games that year when it came out. It was Luigi's Mansion. I just remember all the shadowing and the water, and everything. It just looked fantastic on there.
Yeah, I just hope that the Mario movie looks as good as Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind having a Luigi's Mansion movie.
Yeah, that's what I want now. That you bring it up.
Like, I don't know, Mario's okay, but he can stay to the video games. I think Luigi's Mansion would be a much easier and more flowing story to tell than what we're probably going to get from Mario.
Well, and Luigi lends himself well to comedy as well.
Yes.
Because you can make fun of Luigi, and it's okay.
Yes. Well, is there anything else that we need to talk about with Luigi's Mansion, or have we done everything that we can do with it?
I guess I'll just say that having just recently replayed it, I think it holds up very well. I mean, it's not really that old of a game, but
I mean, it's 20 years old. Or going, it'll be 20 years old in a couple months. Yeah. I agree though. When I played the remaster was pretty much just the first game on 3DS, without much improvement. Maybe a little smoother looking, but even that's kind of hard to say because the 3DS is still not, it's only running at 240. So I think you can actually get the GameCube one in a higher resolution. It's just kind of funny for a remaster, but no, it definitely holds up. Like, I never felt like I was playing something that was that old. Like, it felt fresh still, and I'd already forgotten all the things from the first time I played it, so it all felt pretty new. I mean, some of the things, the story beats and things, you don't forget, but some of the little hidden things that you don't remember where they're at when you play it the second time.
for the bit, in my case.
Yeah, It had probably been 10 or 11 years since I played it when I played it again. So yeah, it's definitely, I had lost all of it for sure. And Sam, do you have any intentions on going back and playing the first one, knowing that it's probably the second best game in the series?
Maybe. I don't know.
Do you still have a GameCube or a Wii?
I still have a Wii that can play GameCube. Actually, my GameCube is in my parents' basement somewhere. It's one of those things we're looking for. Or
do you still have a 3DS?
I do still have my 3DS. I could just download that. I would probably try to get the GameCube version. Although if I can get it for 3DS cheaper, maybe that's
kind of where I was going. I think the 3DS, you could probably get it for like $20 by now.
Yeah.
Physically.
Just a loose cart.
Yep.
What was Micah's list? Like 40 for the GameCube game?
40 for the GameCube, and according to that same list, 36 for the 3DS.
For loose?
Yes.
Man.
I know it's GameCube, but that's pretty high for a launch title. Launch titles are usually pretty cheap because a lot of people buy them just because they want something for their shiny new system. And then there's a lot of people selling them later. But
man, I can't believe the 3DS one is holding its value at $40 for a complete copy. Yeah, that's how much it was new.
Yeah, might as well just go to the eShop then.
Yeah, you can get if you can find a loose one for less than 36, that'll be a little bit cheaper than the eShop. But all right, man, that's Luigi's Mansion. I think we've Luigi Mansioned it out. I think we're getting close. Let's see. Let's do community content next. I don't think we've really discussed what the next Retro Rewind will be, so I'll kind of leave that out until...
Stay tuned.
Yes, until Dan gets off vacation and we can actually discuss this thing. Whenever that is. He's gone for like a month or something. I can't remember. We do have some questions. Some community questions from our Discord. And... they could potentially come from other places, but it looks like most of them are from Discord. The first one is from Nintendo, also Burger Buns Gamer. He asked, do you all prefer emulation over original hardware when playing games? He says, I've noticed this year that I've leaned more to emulating even though I own the hardware of the game. Maybe it's the dad in me thinking I don't have time to hook everything up and troubleshoot if something doesn't work. So, what do you think, Sam? Are you more emulation or original hardware?
I see reasons to emulate, and I will say when it comes to like the very well put together, like bundled, like on collections. I don't know when the last time I played Mega Man X on my Super Nintendo was, for example, because I have the X Legacy Collection on Switch. So I'll usually play it there.
And that's still
that doesn't
emulation.
even have, and that doesn't even have, like, say, save states or anything. But, the reasons, you have features.
Just ease of access.
Emulating. Yeah, that's just ease of access. So that's one. But the other would be like save states for games that are really difficult or just don't let you save often enough, as retro games sometimes do, or don't let you save at all, like Claymates on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it's basically an arcade
pretty long game to not have any saves or even passwords or Plock, which you can't even.
Yeah, you can't do
not
anything.
any. Well, you can emulate it if you have a way to dump the cartridge.
Yeah, you have save states that way. All right, Micah, what about you? Do you do any emulation or are you hardware only?
I guess it kind of depends on the console. Like old Game Boy Advance games, those can be a little bit of struggle to play on the original consoles just because of the backlighting. But, for my GameCube games I go back to, I think I'd much rather just play those. Plus, I guess the nice thing about emulation, though, is I got Golden Sun on, I can't remember if it was the Wii, Virtual Console or the Wii U. Can't remember which one had it, but I actually used like the rewind or save state functionality so I could check every dialogue path. Like when you have options to like choose what you say. I was curious what would happen if I said the other thing, so I was able to like go down this dialogue tree and then rewind like 10 seconds and see what would happen the other way. So I mean, there are a lot of cool things you can do with that. But
I think that would have been the Wii U.
Depends on the thing. It was probably Wii U.
All right. So Nintendo had another question, and he asked this: with Halloween coming up, are there any games that you all routinely play around this time of the year? Mine are Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So, Micah, you got any games that you play for Halloween to get ready for Halloween?
Not really, but after
Luigi's Mansion?
After playing Luigi's Mansion, I'm thinking I'm going to bust out Luigi's Mansion 3 around Halloween this year.
They came out on Halloween. I remember playing that the year it came out on Halloween. I got like 3 trick-or-treaters, so I mostly just played Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, I think we got 1 trick-or-treater that year or something. Like, we don't get any anymore.
My street doesn't have a sidewalk. Oh, and like the last year was just weird for trick-or-treat, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, Luigi's Mansion had that sweet steelbook over in the UK, the one that glowed in the dark.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Man, that's one that I missed out on that I really wish we would have got here. Speaking of Halloween, like, it was really cool looking. What about you, Sam? Do you play anything for Halloween, or you just play what you're playing?
I don't know if I really make a point to play it during Halloween, but it is a game I just replay a lot, and that's Castlevania, Super Castlevania 4. That's just one that, I mean, it is, to me at least,
shorter.
I've never played Rondo of Blood, so I can't comment on that. But to me, it's the pinnacle of the classic Castlevania, and it's one you can sit down and play in a single night.
It's kind of like playing a Zero Mission for Metroid.
Yep.
It's probably my favorite way to play the original story. Also, not having Rondo of Blood. I guess having the Castlevania collection, we have access to that.
That's not on the collection.
Oh, it's not on the collection, is it?
The best way to get it right now would be on the TurboGrafx Mini.
Ooh, yeah, that is correct.
If you have a PlayStation... Is it PlayStation 3 or 4? They bundled it with Symphony of the Night for that remake that stayed PlayStation exclusive.
I wonder if it's on the the Chronicles that I have on PSP. I know Symphony of the Night's on there.
Maybe that came to PSP as well, because I think that was the name of the... It's Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, well, yeah, I think it's Dracula X, but I don't know.
Well, Dracula X is the Super Nintendo game that is a port, but
yes.
There's quite a bit that had to be cut.
Yeah, I think though that it's... I'd have to look on there again. It's been so long. Castlevania gets really weird in its releases and all that, because they like to do samesies and then throw things in, and it gets crazy. I'll have to, before I say something on the show and Flightsy calls me out for it, I'll do a little bit of research. But I also like to play a little Castlevania around Halloween, and I guess I'm going to play Aria of Sorrow for Halloween this year, since that's the one I'm currently playing.
Because I know I have a Castlevania game somewhere. I might bust that out. I think it might be Circle of the Moon.
There you go. That's a good one too.
In the name, can't remember, but I'll just see if I can find that.
Yeah, I really hope that Game Boy Advance rumor is not just wishful thinking.
Me too. I really want... I hope that it's not just Game Boy Advance and that we also get the DS collection as well. Because
if we do, I think it'll be a separate collection, but I mean, I'll take it. Yeah. That might be a little harder.
I'll buy it either way. Well, the thing with the Castlevania games on DS is I'm not 100% sure how much they utilize the bottom
I don't think they
screen.
use the touch screen much.
That's what I'm thinking. So you could
It's
easily just
usually
have
a map.
Yeah, you could usually just have a map screen.
I think you could do some
Marking, like map markers.
I want to say Portrait of Ruin did some weird stuff with it, but I think there was one of them.
But still, with
But
the
like
Switch,
Dawn of Sorrow is very much the same as Area of Sorrow.
so with the Switch though, you could even still use the touchscreen to do some of those things.
Yeah.
They figured it out.
Well, yeah, but then it would be handheld only. I think they want to avoid that if they can.
Yeah, it's Konami. They'll figure it out if they want to sell it.
Yeah, it's also Konami. They don't make video games anymore.
Yep. No, they just port all their video games to things to keep making money. All right, looks like we have one more question, and it comes from Solo Something from Discord. Great. What is he? What do they call him on the Nintendo Dad's Discord? I can't remember now. He's like the Patreon of the month, but they call it something.
It's the guy that gets you your Switch OLED.
Yeah, he's the guy that helps everyone out when they need something. He asks, do you have any specific life event or memory that can point to... Hold on a second. That you can point to that got you into gaming? Sam, you can go first on this one.
Being born.
Yep.
That wasn't a life event for you. That was a life event for your parents.
Well, I mean,
For both.
so really, I'm the youngest of three brothers, and we had a Super Nintendo before I really can remember things. So I can't point to a specific event. I do point to going back to that Super Nintendo in my early teens before I could actually get a summer job and drive myself to a job as a way to kill time. When my brothers were working, my mom was working, I just kind of had to kill time by myself at home. And that's probably what got me into retro gaming as the old stuff is actually really good and worth revisiting.
Nice. What about you, Micah? What do you got for us?
Pretty much the same. I was the youngest of four siblings, so essentially I had Sega Genesis since as long as I can remember. Pretty much one of the only games I can remember from that is, besides Sonic 1, 2, and 3, NBA Hang Time. I love that game. But yeah,
NBA Hang Time is solid.
Essentially been into gaming as long as I can remember, although none of my siblings really are anymore, so...
That's their loss, right?
Oh, for sure.
So I can't say, I could say, but that wasn't... I'm the youngest of me and my brother. I only have one sibling. And we're quite a bit older than you guys. He's a lot older than me. He's almost 10 years older than I am. But he passed on to me a Atari 2600, which Micah might not even know what that is.
It plays games.
Yeah, there you go. And I would play games with him on occasion. But that's not really... I can't say that my brother got me into gaming because he never did really play a whole lot of games. We just had the Atari. I can't even remember how we got it. But definitely summer trips to visit my grandma. She had an NES and she was a gamer. She played... I remember going to visit and my grandma... We'd play Super Mario Brothers and she would just stock... she would play for the first 15-20 minutes and get a ton of lives for me and then just hand me the controller and say, here you go, now you can play and you can try.
That's awesome.
Try to do something. And so I would play Super Mario, and we had Duck Hunt there and RC Pro Am Racing, and just my grandma's kind of the one that got me in, and I never looked back. I just started playing games wherever I could, and which was kind of tough in my family because my dad wasn't really that big on video games. He was more of a wanted me more occupied with school, where video games took away from a lot of that. So, it took. It was really like the N64 before I got my own actual console. The Super Nintendo made it to our house through my brother, and I would play it. He left it there, so I played it. It was mine eventually, but it wasn't until after the N64 already came out that I had it that I could consider it mine. But that's definitely what I would say got me into gaming, was probably my grandma the most.
It's not really a story you hear all that often.
No, it's not. It's
My
definitely.
grandma got me into gaming.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
But so that's it for our questions, and the last thing we have left is our guest spotlight. This is a chance for you, Micah, to kind of talk about the Nintendo Pals podcast and just anything else that you do, content creation wise, or just anything you're working on that's interesting. I know you do some programming and things, don't you?
Yeah. I've done some.
Yeah.
Hopefully a little more if I get a job. But yeah, I am. I guess I'm one half of the Nintendo Pals. We have our own podcast. You can find us also streaming things on Twitch at Nintendo Nintendo. I always mess this up. Nintendo_Pals. And you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Nintendo Pals Podcast, and Twitter at Nintendo Pals. And yeah, we do a podcast, stream some games sometimes. Been posting some 60-second game reviews on TikTok, and we have a great Discord community, so hit us up, I guess.
Definitely go join the Discord if you're a RetroLogic listener and you're in our Discord for sure. You probably already know a little bit about the Nintendo Pals. We like to talk and collaborate with them quite a bit. Definitely a good Nintendo show to go check out if you're not already checking them out.
If you catch the latest episode, you might hear some familiar voices.
Yeah. We Sam and I recently did an episode with the Nintendo Pals that should be out, and we talked about all kinds of things. Sam and I come from a Nintendo background as well, it seems like, more often than not, so it's a lot of fun to go on a show that talks about current Nintendo things and be able to discuss those, as well as we don't normally get that chance to do so on here. We're kind of stuck in the past.
We don't always talk about the Pokemon Oreos here.
Yeah, that is correct.
Gotta collect them all.
But yeah, go check out the Nintendo Pals and all the ways that he just talked about, and definitely review their podcast if you can, and review ours if you can. We enjoy not only getting reviews, but reading through the reviews. We find some interesting ones every once in a while. And I think that'll be it for the spotlight. Thanks, Micah, for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you. I think we've already had Andros on, the other half of the Nintendo Pals. So it was just a matter of time before we got you on here to talk about something you were interested in talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to talk about the Wind Waker.
Man, yeah, we had Andros on for our Zelda ranking show that we did, which we need to do some more ranking shows. That was the only one we've done so far, and I can't even remember what prompted it now, but we had Andros on. We
should have another 30-year back Game of the Year at the end of the year, right?
Yes, we will be. Let's see, we did 1990 last year, so it'll be 1991 Game of the Year awards this year. I don't know if Mike is familiar with that, but we do our own Game of the Year, but it's based on a 30-year back. All those games that were from 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's probably games I wasn't alive for, so maybe don't have too much experience with, but
you'll definitely have to.
Technically, I wasn't alive for them either. We'll have to wait another year for that.
Oh boy. I was definitely already alive and playing all these games in 1991. But yeah, you'll have to check that out. We definitely need to do some more ranking shows in the future and more stuff like that. Just some different things coming down the pipeline as our 1 year anniversary comes around. We're going to shake some things up, I'm sure. But that's it, I think. So thanks for listening to the RetroLogic podcast. We're proudly part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. If you like what you hear, you can check Dan out on Twitter and Instagram at RetroLogic Games. You're also welcome to jump into our friendly and 100% non-toxic Discord community. The link to that is in Dan's Twitter bio. And you can also find everything on our website at retrologic.games. And that's another one in the books. Thanks, guys, for hanging out and talking about retro games. And we'll see you guys on the next one.